together, learn from each other, help each other out. I don't care how many of my competitors I promote. If someone was to come to me who I haven't spoken to yet and said, "Hey, Rich, I see what you're doing. Hey, where do you want to join?" Yeah.
It's true.
Okay. Well,
So it looks
believe it,
like we're live.
we are. So Dina Farmer, thank you for joining us. You are live from what town?
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Colorado Springs. A buddy of mine moved there about 15 years ago and he loves it.
He's in the majority. I'm in the minor. I miss the ocean, and we are lucky because we live in Florida. But like before we moved here, we were in Hawaii, and I would like, I don't know what I would do. I'd sell my business to move back there. Like, just,
So now your husband is in the Air Force.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So how often have you moved?
Um, After Colorado, it'll be our sixth move.
Okay. I'm so sorry. That can't be easy.
No, well, I'm an Air Force brat and a veteran too. So I always say this joke, like I've literally been in the military my whole life, and it's true. I don't think I've spent a day outside of the military.
I have lots of friends. So we live right next door to West Point Military Academy.
Oh,
When
okay.
my kids were growing up, we met so many transfer in families and we would fall in love with them. And 2 years later, the husband or the wife was transferred back out and my kids would have that heartbreaking final hug. And I'd be like, I can't do this.
It's so hard. But I feel like the military also builds resiliency in children in particular from having
Yep.
to move around so much. So there's the good and and the bad with it.
Well, I have appreciated you from afar. You are so much more creative than I will ever be. And I think people are going to see that today as they learn about canva.com because a lot of people are asking. I've been getting a lot of questions, and we actually did a short poll, and the majority of the people who answered the poll said, I kind of occasionally use it or I never use it. So hopefully everybody who's watching today um, will pick something up, and maybe some of the experts, the people who use it regularly, will learn something new because I only purchased the subscription service November of last year, and I'm still learning. So I'm getting good at certain things and getting more efficient. But let me tell you, we can all learn. So if you can just bear with us, first, we're just going to kind of go through with everybody where we're at, because this is 2 weeks now since we met with everybody. And Dina, just to kind of bring you up to speed, we try to fill people in on where the narrative arc is with the pandemic, because
Okay.
everything that we do is obviously based on when are we coming out of this and what stage are we in right now and what can I sell? How does that impact my messaging? So just if you can, just bear with us a second. So for everybody who's been paying attention, you know that the most important thing is the money in the bank account. So I've not gotten any requests for people to work on their cash flow statements. Ladies and gentlemen, knowing, not basing your profitability on what's in your bank account now is crucial to everything else you do. Just because there's money in the bank account doesn't mean you're profitable, and certainly does not have any indication on what your profitability will be going forward. So, I'm not here to look at your numbers to understand them, other than to help you understand them. So please take us up on the offer. A 30-minute look through on your cash flow statement to start getting you comfortable with numbers. So many of our clients are not comfortable with their numbers, and that's okay. We can.
No, this is critical. So I've been doing this at least like every couple weeks, just kind of taking a look, especially just during this time, because obviously revenue is down significantly. So I'm having to really keep an eye on it and, really try to figure out like what the cash flow looks like when will I run out of money, and what am I going to do to make sure that doesn't happen? So it's really practical to set this up for yourself. And really, if you haven't done it, do take Richard up on his generous offer to help you set it up, because even though sometimes it's not good news, at least you know what you're looking at, right?
It's always
And
better
then
to
once
know
you
what
know and admit, like, oh my God, then you're like, okay, so I need X amount of dollars. And then you can figure out how to get X amount of dollars. And that is the clarity that doing this exercise will give you.
At American Express, we used to say all the time, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. That's what we used to say. If you don't know what your numbers in your business are, because we all managed P&Ls within the company, how would you know that by spending $2 million more in your marketing, you might actually return, 300 million in your accounts receivables? You had to see how those numbers worked and what levers you can pull, and pull out on, not have any money in that particular account because you don't need it right now. So please, it is completely complimentary. I will trash any document you send to me afterwards, delete it completely. I do not want to have any record of anything. I just want you to be comfortable that you're starting to get what the flow of your cash looks like and what your expenses look like. So by all means, take us up on that. So the agenda is really simple today. We're going to go over some implications from the current narrative because the current narrative is starting to change. And there's a couple of major things that have been happening that indicate that we may have some commissionable sales opportunities maybe sooner than we realized. And we're going to go over a little bit of those. And then, as probably most of you have heard, there are certain destinations that are pushing out the opportunity for Americans to travel way out till 2021. So we're just going to go over a little bit of that, get you grounded. And again, as you understand that, you might be able to go back into your cash flow statement and say, if Disney World's going to allow me to start booking people for new reservations, and I've got 12 people who want to go, 12 families that want to go, and they're intrepid travelers, well, now you can start plotting those numbers. If they're in a drive market and they're just going to drive in, they're not going to take a plane, whatever, those numbers can now start to shift your cash flow statement. So please, this slide is always going to be in because we never know who has been a part of this since day one, which is like 9 weeks ago now, 8 weeks ago. But the narrative is unfortunately complex. It is not just a universal narrative across the whole world. It breaks down from both a local standpoint, maybe Disney World only wants Floridians first for the first 2 months, or the state of Florida doesn't want people crossing borders, so it's local. Then it starts to expand out to regional. And then finally, what we are hoping is at some point we'll be booking Christmas market cruises, to Europe. So where are we? We still believe we are at the end of the beginning because the arc of the pandemic and how we're flattening that curve hasn't really changed that much. In many places, it's a plateau. And in fact, in New York, where I live, we are actually seeing a decline. Can we sustain that decline? That's up to how many people travel from other places into the New York area on business, whether or not we have any loosening of our own restrictions locally, and that starts putting people back in the hospitals. But what we do know is that we're probably at the end of that really, really awful time, that end of March, beginning of April, which was the beginning. So some things that have been happening. Universal Orlando and Disney World both sent out surveys for hypothetical reopening plans. It was, if you could have found it on Twitter and a couple of other inside pages where people were saying, hey, I just got this survey about my upcoming reservation that hasn't been canceled yet. So they're trying to feel out the consumer for, if you come here and this is what you experience, is that going to frighten you? Is that okay? And we've talked prior to this session how Disney has already told some people with reservations at certain Disney resorts, you will not be checking in. You will be checking in on your phone and going straight to your room. So there won't be any stop in a lobby anywhere. So Disney's already put a couple of things in, but they're also feeling out their customers for, well, what if? So that's a pretty good sign because, and I'm going to be very honest with people, I'm a centrist. I'm in the middle of the madness in terms of the political spectrum, the open versus don't open crowd. I was raised by a father who was a business owner. I went to journalism school, and what I like to see is a broad enough base of statistics that I can feel confident that if we try X, my hypothesis is we're going to get Y. But that doesn't mean I buy into my hypothesis. It means I test with as few variables and as few inputs as possible that could change the reason why I believe Y will be the output, that I try to restrict that enough so I can see if my hypothesis was correct. So I don't come in on either side of the spectrum. I also do look at things objectively and realize all of us are suffering. My bank account is suffering. Dina is a travel advisor. Her bank account isn't doing fantastically like it was prior to the pandemic. And I don't want any of you to suffer. So politics aside, I want to see us being a part of a measured return to whatever this, new world that we're stepping into is like, that we're doing it in a way that we can say, did this work? Did we do something wrong? Should Disney not have 6-foot spacing? They need 10-foot spacing on lines. What does that mean to their capacity, their ability to book reservations? That's the way I think. So we've heard rumors that like Italy, France may be saying, sorry, there will be no inbound tourism to France for the remainder of this calendar year. There's rumors about that. Also, we're hearing comments from suppliers that give us an indication about what consumers might expect when they show up. So this came from an article about, I think it was USA Today, it might have been the New York Times. What is travel going to look like as we reopen? And the owner of the Chatham Bars Inn, which is over on Cape Cod, said, look, there's going to be checking in via cell phone. You don't have to have room service. If you're afraid that somebody coming into your room is going to bring COVID in, and we were able to validate that your room was COVID-free before you got here, and that's what you want, you can do that. Concepts like lengthening dining hours so that, if dining was only 7 a.m. to 9:30, places like Chatham Bars Inn is going to say, okay, we may have to have breakfast reservations so that people can keep to the 50% restaurant space rule. So do you see, we're going to test things out, and we're going to, try to explore if people come to the Chatham Bars Inn and this is what we did, and 3 weeks later, this is what we know about our guests and our employees and whether or not they're still COVID free. That to me is an objective scientific approach to trying to get travel back again. This was a really great story. If you haven't had a chance to read it, Nocetta, the chairman and CEO of Hilton, was giving. So now you're getting all of these Q1 earnings calls. And if you've never sat in on an earnings call, it's when the investors listen, and anybody actually can participate. So you can sign up for publicly traded quarterly earnings calls where these executives get asked questions. And now there are certain things that they can answer because they could move the stock price. So they're very measured on how they respond, but very often you get little nuggets of information about what a company's thinking, because that's material to the way the business is moving forward. And they're okay revealing that because they're disclosing it at the same time to anybody who might have been an investor. So this gentleman from Hilton was talking about how the recovery is obviously not going to be what we had prior to the pandemic. So he was saying that their all-time highs for occupancies were low to mid 70s. 70% of their rooms filled was an all-time high in 2019. He's pushing that out to 2 or 3 years from now. So you're talking about purchasing hotels for your clients where Hilton is at least saying 50, 40, 30% occupancies is what your client is going to experience for the near term as they book a hotel room. That's going to have implications for what their experience is like. What's a resort like if it doesn't have a lot of people in it? Does it feel different? Is that what your client is looking for? Is that going to feel spooky to your client? Right? So we're starting to get some more of this end of the beginning examination of what travel is going to look like. But here's a good thing. So if you want some bright spots, Nocetta said in the last week alone, so this call was done last week, so that would have been the last week of April. He said in the last week alone, we booked tens of millions of dollars in group business. Group business is far in advance usually. It's usually business, and there might be some incentive travel. I'm guessing he's also including in there some group leisure business. And he said that there's double-digit increases in digital traffic across all of his segments: luxury, extended stay, the bottom end, the Hampton Inns, all are starting to see double-digit increases in digital traffic. So that, I guess, means web page views, going to the Hilton website and clicking and asking for a search for different periods of time. Now it's off a low base. So double digits is not necessarily 15% off of nothing is easy to get to. But again, what does that show you? We are at the end of the beginning. And the reason why I harp on this is because if you're not now setting yourself up to start attracting some of that digital traffic, you're leaving money on the table. And you've got to be cognizant of how this continues to change and to prompt yourself, am I not doing enough to get back out into the market with some kind of marketing that reminds people that they can book through me? So that's why I harp on this all the time. Some other thoughts that we're seeing: the Boston Consulting Group is a very famous consulting company like McKinsey, Bain and Company, and they now have a free service. So Tableau is like Microsoft Excel on steroids. And it's you can either do it behind a firewall, and financial services companies and other companies use Tableau as their sort of network enterprise-wide access to Excel data. And in this particular case, Boston Consulting Group, as you can see at the tabs at the top, they're pulling in data from all over the place. And they're trying to convey a story, a narrative arc about where is travel going right now. And here, I'm thinking, again, we're seeing signs that we're at the end of the beginning. So the end of February, beginning of March, kind of getting to the end of March, we had that precipitous drop. And into April, it continued a slow decline. But look at what we started to have as we got into April. We had a flattening of that curve. We had some minor ups and downs. But look at the last 2 weeks. We've had either a plateau with a slight dip, or we're starting to rise again. And this is exactly what we saw in China as China and Wuhan opened up again. So it's the end of the beginning. What are you doing to talk to those consumers who are now starting to inquire about searches? And this was both domestic and international travel searches. This is ticketing. Very similar scenario, right? So the ticketing dropped off. We had a lot of rebooking. I'll bet you there's a lot of rebooking in there. And that's why you see some spikes, because people went in, they canceled something and they said, okay, I'm going to use the credit, or I'm going to, I'm just going to push that trip out to next year because I'm confident we're going to travel. So you saw a lot of that activity, but look at what you have towards now, towards the end of April. Ticketing is actually starting to go up. That's a good sign. Now, there are some other things that are going to impact. So anybody who doesn't think they want to engage in the game of drive bookings, I think I've said on this call a couple of times, I'm in the lower Hudson Valley. About 3.5 hours away is this little town called Lake Placid, where the Olympics were. There are a couple of very high-end lodges in Lake Placid. There's the Mirror Lake Inn, which is on the main lake in town. And then there's the Lake Placid Lodge, which is out on a private, not a private lake, but it's a more secluded lake. These are both extremely exclusive properties. Very, very high rates. I think I saw a special that the Mirror Lake Inn was doing. I think the base rate was $275 per person. So I don't know what their commission rates are. I'm guessing 9 or 10%. You know what? You book a couple that's got a lot of money in the Mirror Lake Inn. Now, I'm guessing the spa probably isn't opened yet. I don't know what Andrew Cuomo has said about reopening spas. But you know what? You book somebody a 3-night romantic getaway to Lake Placid. You know what? You're putting a little bit of money into your cash flow. So some food for thought. But when it comes to airline passenger sentiment, I'm not sure who pros.com is. I'm not that familiar with them, but they went at their polling a little bit differently than everybody else. And they looked at experiences. What if I presented you with the following airline experiences, how would you feel? So this is again starting to see, just like Universal and Disney, people are exploring, if I did this, how would it impact your desire to fly? No surprise there. Less than 1 out of 10 people have booked a new flight since the pandemic began. When you book your next flight, what do you expect from airline prices? Now, that's actually pretty good for people, for travel advisors, that 44% are saying, I'm expecting airline prices to actually go up. And given how many flights have been taken out of the market, how few seats there are, and given supply and demand, those people may be right. The airlines may not have to discount too much to get people to fly again. So that's going to impact your ability to sell. When you do take your next vacation trip, however, most people are inclined to drive, but look, I will fly is not that far away. It's only 10 percentage points below. So these should be good positive points for you. And if you're not thinking about how you're going to start to do marketing to bring people into your sales funnel, you better start, because there are some people who are intrepid enough to fly. This is from the BCG, the Boston Consulting Group data. They asked, well, if an airline was doing X, would it incline you to fly again in the next month? So what are people looking to hear about? And you've already started to see some of this messaging coming out through airline CEO videos and commercial videos that they're producing, the marketing, the safety and security on their flights. So they're looking for that cleaning. So how airlines are explaining cleaning of their planes is going to be critical. Hand sanitizer, I guess it's a good idea. We're all carrying it with me, but I don't need an airline to do that. Social distancing is going to be huge. And I'll talk a little bit later about something that happened with a doctor flying home from New York that makes me worry a little bit for how interesting travel by air will be, given that it's going to be tough to do social distancing on a plane. But then you've got some other things that are going on, and you should be aware of these things, because your clients may ask you. I don't think you should become an expert about the airlines and how they're actually doing things, but you need to know where the airlines are presenting that information. Can you link to that information in emails, in your social posts? If you are going to start talking about, hey, we're starting to get some messaging from the industry about how they're going to protect you. So you should at least start to familiarize yourself with these different needs that our customers have to feel safe about jumping on a plane. And then this is kind of overlaying the BCG data with something that this pros.com did. And they asked people, well, how would you feel for things like COVID testing? What if you were required to take a COVID test before you headed out to the airport? 9% of people said, I'd feel annoyed. 17% said they'd feel puzzled. But look at that. 74% of people said, look, the airline's being proactive. I'm okay with that. So if you're thinking inside your head, oh my goodness, I don't want to talk about protecting air travelers, you may be missing the point. Your customers may be excited to hear that the airlines are putting in policies and procedures that'll protect them, because their desire to fly somewhere when that country opens or that state opens may be bigger to them than the fear that they have. Some other quick things and you can get all these, we will load these slides up. So I'm really putting these slides in here so that you can take a look at them later on. Some other things that people were asked about was, what if you had to pay as an ancillary item? Would you pay for canceling a flight for any reason at no cost? 69% of people said they would pay some kind of fee for that right. They would also pay for not having someone sit next to them. And then there's a couple of other things in there that you should take a look at. They're looking for fresh N95 masks. Who knows? That may be an ancillary product that gets offered, The airlines keep talking about retailing and merchandising through this new, direct connect concept that they have. Who knows? Maybe you'll start seeing that on the airlines' websites. And then finally, I wanted to include, how do people feel about this whole concept of a certificate of immunity? I'm not going to get into the science of this because I'm not an epidemiologist, but there's another way that suppliers can try to give people confidence that at least some kind of testing was done to see, before a person departed, what percentage of the population coming to this resort, jumping on this cruise, indicated that they did not have COVID-19, that they were not positive. Okay. Two more things. Which services are the most important to you? And then finally, here's a concept. What if you had to enter a sanitizing tunnel of some kind? So I'm not sure. And I'll tell you, I've got to educate myself about, these different types of sanitizing things, the stuff that you saw in the Marriott video. Delta Airlines did a quick video about sanitizing planes, and they're squirting out this fluid. I have no idea what that process is like. So I'm hoping the airlines will be able to explain it, because the more we understand and we can rationalize it, the less we fear. So what's a sanitizing tunnel? What's included in a sanitizing tunnel? Obviously, we would want to know details like that. And you'll also see that the Gallup poll, the Harris poll that I've been presenting over the last couple of weeks, is showing you that fear is going away. So if you remember on the left, the last time the Harris poll came out, 22% of the population said it would be a year or longer before they would fly. In April, it's 26%. But look, on the left side, we've got, instead of only 8% of people would immediately be willing to jump on a plane, it's now up to 18%. And we've held pretty firm on 4 to 6 months and 7 to 11 months of people jumping on a plane. A storm is blowing through, and it's really pounding the side of the house here. The cruise numbers also came up a little bit, and look where they shifted to. They shifted from only 6% of people immediately being interested in jumping on a cruise to 14%. And you know what? The left side of the chart, you know what? We've kind of held steady for the most part. We saw a little bit of a drop in 1 to 3 months and a little bit of a drop in 4 to 6 months. But if you add up those numbers, we're holding firm. We've actually, kept the confidence of the consumer about flying and cruising at levels 2 months ago. We've kept that level. And then you'll also be able to see a little bit about what people are saying about casinos and staying in a hotel. There's some good news out there, is what these charts indicate. Americans are coming to terms with the new reality. They want more information from their suppliers. But the fear that they had in March and April, because they had very little information about what was happening. They had very
Your
little
sound is a little off.
Yeah, it's the rain. It's pounding
There you
against-
go. Yeah.
the
okay.
rain is pounding on my house, and as a result, it's shutting off the microphone. So the news is, as the curve flattens, as we get to a degree of normalcy, meaning what we're experiencing isn't fluctuating anymore. This is the sentiment for travel is modulating. Now, what this doesn't tell us is if we loosen up restrictions and we see a new spike in new cases and unfortunately deaths, does that change these numbers? And that's why we say that narrative arc, it can shift and we can slip backwards. But as you know, when we started in the beginning, what our messaging was, it dealt with people who were in deep fear. If on that narrative arc we slip back, we already know what our messaging is because we worked on it the first couple of weeks. We know it's about care and consideration. It may be that some of our clients have now gotten somebody sick in their household, and we know how to communicate in that period. That's a good thing. We are better prepared for the changes that we can't predict. So now with that, I'm going to want to hand this off to Dina. Dina, I'm going to make you a host so that you can click through. And what we're hoping to do now is to let you start taking one visual tool, canva.com, and we want you to start thinking about how you are visually presenting your marketing materials. We did a brief poll with everybody in the group over the weekend, and most people said, I've got some familiarity with it, but I don't use it a lot. So most of you will be probably seeing the tool for the first time. So I don't know if, Dina, are you ready to share your screen?
All right, hold on. Let me share it right now.
And after Dina kind of walks you through the basics, I'm going to walk you through two potential examples to show you how you take your concept of doing business and then maybe translate it into an image.
Okay. So I'm going to say right off the bat that I have the paid version of
Yes,
Canva.
everybody definitely needs to understand
Yeah.
this. We do not recommend the higher end, the enterprise version. It's too expensive right now, given our financial situations. But
Right.
the paid version, the pro version, is only $10 a month.
Yep. And it includes all the images, because for a little while they were not doing that. Like they had like a certain amount that you could use, and then you'd have to pay like $1 for other images, but now they finally gave us all the images. So that's like one check on my box, that you don't have
Mhm.
to go search on like Unsplash or another stock
Right.
imagery site. Like all the stock images are yours to use in the paid version.
Guys, it's worth
Yeah.
it. And if you've
Yeah,
got your
it's really
cash flow
worth it.
statement set up, throw that $10 into your marketing,
Mhm.
your
Yeah, because
marketing dollar.
Adobe stock is like $30 a month and you only get 10 images. So
God.
like, yeah, for $10, you can have Canva and they have pretty much the same images.
Yeah.
So
It's so much better. And like I haven't used Adobe Spark at all, but what I really like about the paid version of Canva is if we look on the left hand side of the screen, and it has the brand kit right here, and I don't mind sharing you mine, but I can load all my stuff in there. So this is all my different logos. These are all my fonts, and these are all my hex coded colors. So in the free version of Canva, you'd have to input all of this every single time you make a new design, because it doesn't save any of that for you.
And Dina can upload fonts from outside of Canvas fonts too.
Yep, which is phenomenal, because not like my logo fonts are like not in Canva. So I love that branding kit. And correct me if I'm wrong, Richard and Myrna, but I think in the free version as well, you don't have access to folders.
I think you have access to like one folder.
Okay,
I thought you did have access to at least one folder in folders.
maybe I'll have to double check.
You know what? I haven't had it since November. I forgot.
Yeah. But I know in the paid version you can get a lot more folders, and I
Yes.
use that to like keep all of my so like my marketing materials. I've deleted a bunch of stuff because I'm starting over, but I have all these folders within this folder to like market, put all my marketing materials in there, and that way I don't have to go searching through all my designs. Right,
Yes.
it drives me crazy, and I can't find anything.
I was organizing this weekend. I was building folders and organizing because I didn't do that for the longest time. I know what you mean.
It's very frustrating.
I am not organized at all. Mine is like a big old mess.
I mean, like I have all these designs right here, and I do need to organize them.
Right.
This COVID-19 keeping my kids home is not easy on my time.
No.
But
Just so everybody knows, Tina is the mother of 2 children.
ages 8 and 2, and they're wild. But I guess the easiest way to, like, this is going to be the same exact screen, depending on if you have the paid version or the unpaid version, or sorry, the free version. It's going to be the same thing. You can search in here for designs that you want, or you can just create a design. I will say, if you're trying to do a customized design, again, in the free version, they don't allow you to do that, but you can have a customized, not design, but size. They don't have customized size in the free version, but in the paid version they do. And I thought we might start with a Facebook post. So that would probably be the easiest, just for because you were talking about marketing and how to get yourself out there again in front of your audience. This is sized to what your Facebook feed post would be. And they have like a bazillion.
It really is. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, even some of the paid stuff is kind of dirt cheap.
Yeah. Even for $1 for image, it's really not that bad. I kind of like this right here. And something new when it comes up is I noticed that Canva, the paid version, allows you to do video now.
Yes.
So if I wanted to make video in every single one of these squares, I could, which I don't have any
pull
video.
the element in.
Yeah, so that's like super awesome.
Yep.
So I don't know, someone picture me, my baby brother.
Aw.
So like with this, it'll fit perfectly like, in a Facebook post, and it's so easy to edit your marketing. So just clicked on the box right here. I personally hate having these connected. So what I'll normally do is already bound. I'll ungroup it, which came up right here. So
I
that
do
way
too.
I can move everything, because otherwise it drives me nuts.
Yep.
That's just a personal preference. But anyway, if you wanted to change the color, which I would because I want it to be on brand, I would switch it to one of my brand colors that's already loaded when I hit that little square right there. And it's the same thing if you wanted to change the font color as well. When you hit the text color there, there's your brand colors loaded already. So I would maybe probably do something like that. And you could type really anything that you wanted in this box. Like, so now open, and then like book, yeah, just hypothetical. Your
Dina, in the unpaid version, did it have the new color box where you could do, all sorts of colors? I don't remember if it restricted you on colors in the unpaid version.
I don't think so. I think it's the same new color thing right here, and you'll
You
just
can
tap on.
choose, yeah, you can choose any color, but what it doesn't do is let you save your brand colors, which that's super cool because
Right.
that way you're not constantly having to add the color every single time you make
Right.
an image.
So if I were to hypothetically like leave this page after I got done editing it, in the unpaid version, the free version, sorry, all those hex colors that I input would be gone,
Yep.
which is it can be frustrating, but it's whatever it's only $10.
Yeah,
So
guys, we don't get commission for getting you to book the 9.99 version. Just go do it.
so nice. But anyway, you can put all that stuff in there, just whatever font, or not font, copy that you want to put in there. But something else that I have had people ask me like repeatedly, like, how do I get my logo onto my Canva graphics? And I have a folder with all my stuff again, which you can do this version by just adding, like if you go to your uploads and then we say right here, I'm going to move to folder, and then I'll move it to the folder for my pictures. That way I can access it easily here. And then I will just click on my logo and drag it. No, I don't want to do that because I'll change the picture. Sorry. I just want to tap it and drag it down to be the right size. And then my logo is trying to go everywhere, but pop it in there. I don't know why it's doing that, but then I would be able to have that, accessible for me on my design.
And the other thing is that I don't know if I saw the elements, the range of elements that the paid version has, so that your round logo would remain round. It wouldn't get the transparency. I think the transparency is not in the unpaid version too.
I don't. Oh, you might be right.
I think so.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I think in the unpaid version you can't. I don't remember, Richard. I'm
Neither
sorry.
do I. But I remember when I first got the paid version, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do transparent logos. I
Right.
don't have to
Yeah,
have
I'm
that
pretty sure it's
white
with the
border.
paid version
Yeah,
Okay.
because I recently had to use it and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
it is.
I can do it.
Makes so much easier. And then like what I and you guys have to correct me if I'm wrong. It's been so long since I've used the free version, but I know with the paid version, I can publish this right away
Yes.
to my Facebook group or page, excuse me.
Yep.
I don't know if you can do that with the free version, but I would
That's
just
a good
click the
question.
button and then it would go
Yep.
right. And then you can also type in like dang it, I'm not connected. I just download it, but
Don't
you'd be
worry.
able to just type in everything that you want in your post, and it would just go out and be
Yep.
live right then and there. But I really use Canva to do like, I don't really use it for marketing like this per se. I use it for like my Facebook cover photo, and then my Instagram. I'll put like, if I'm doing an ad on Instagram in particular, I'll use it for that. So or like I did all my Instagram highlight covers, which so easy. I don't feel like you should pay anybody
No.
do this because it's brain, like it's so easy. So this one, you just really don't, whatever matches what your brand is. So like I am Lillian Magnolia, so I have lots of flowers in my branding in general. So if I wanted to make a quick highlight cover to talk about something, like I just made one for my special needs, I would just use one of my brand colors, like this is perfect. And then I would search for something that I wanted to slap on top of there. So I would go over to Elements, and it just has everything, and I'll just say flower. And there's a ton of images that just came up, and this one looks really pretty. And I'll just drag it onto the image. I don't like it in black. Super
I
easy.
agree.
So I can just click on the black square again, and I can change it to white. So it kind of, it's a little bit more subdued in general. And then I would be able to either email this to myself so I can get it from my phone,
Right.
or I could just download it. And it's really simple. And this, as long as you keep it in the center, it'll be the perfect size for that little circle on Instagram. And then something else that I know that's really easy. Something else that I do is, where to go? Facebook. You can search for it too. Facebook cover photos. And this one, like always, this is the right size for your Facebook cover. And then you could just choose one that you have, like one of the templates that, because they have like a million.
They do.
But yeah, it's so much, and you don't really have to do it on your own. So like this one looks really nice. If I didn't really know what I was doing, like, and I wanted to do something like this would be relatively easy to edit. So I could just change the colors again to reflect my branding. That's fun. And then I could be like Dina Farmer travel, and then again I would ungroup it and then drag it over to fit what I want it to do. Sorry, my computer's yelling at me because I'm in my car.
Hey, your
then I could,
Wi-Fi is pretty good.
okay, well that's great. I was kind of
No, it's working very smoothly.
awesome. So I would go to my folders again and like grab my logo. I really like the circular logo, but you could, use whatever you want. Oops, sorry. I keep doing that. I don't know why, but I would just pop it on there. And then I have my logo hiding out on my Facebook cover. And this, can you guys see that purple like rectangle thing?
Yeah.
On there. Okay, so like that is really important because outside of those lines is where Facebook's going to cut off your photo when it's displaying it on your Facebook cover. So if you try to keep everything inside that box, it won't get cut off. So that would get cut off if I didn't move it. And then what I like to do is not just leave it at like, this is my cover photo. I am doing stuff with it. I like to direct people down to my freebie or to sign up for my email list. And I know on Facebook that little button is immediately below my cover photo. So what I'll do is I'll usually like grab an arrow.
Yep.
I can type. And I will point it down to, and you can easily just manipulate it however you want it to go. I'll point it down to where I want people to go. And then I might type something in there. Oh, and there you go. Now you can see where all your fonts are hiding when you go to the text tool. I would say like grab one great day at Disney.
Right.
Or something like that. And then, sorry, please feel free to ask questions along the way. But this would like, go ahead.
On the objects like the arrow, the one thing I have not been able to find, I haven't been able to Google it, is can you change the thickness of arrows? I have not found a way to do that.
So I'm going to delete some of this so you can see it a little bit. Like I'm going to get rid of all this stuff so you can see it clearly. But if we grab the arrow and we make it really big, right?
Right.
And we hold down the shift key and we move. Oh, you're supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah, I've tried to figure out a way to make the arrow thinner. Yeah.
Hmm.
It keeps the ratio is what it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, it's changing. I see it. So let's keep making it smaller. If you make it super duper small, right? And then oh no, it's not working.
No, it did. I tried like crazy yesterday on a project I was working on. I'm like, I've never tried to make a narrow. It was a straight arrow, it wasn't squiggly. I couldn't get it to work.
With lines, I know, like if I were to grab like any of the shapes, that works.
Yes.
But that's, I guess maybe because it keeps this aspect ratio, it won't let you.
It does. I think it does.
Mm.
And I tried to Google it to see if there was, somebody had figured out the way to do it. Nobody had anything anywhere.
No, that's usually my method, is shrinking it down super small and then it will get tinier. But
Right.
right, I didn't. Sorry, that's something I hadn't even thought about.
It was, what I ended up doing was I sent it backwards behind the things that were in the front because I was more or less using it as a border.
Right.
And that's how I shrank the width of the arrow. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
I just figured out another way to do it.
I'm trying to think of. Sorry, I'm on
That's
this.
okay. One of the great things that you cannot do in the unpaid version is you cannot automatically resize a social media. You create something as a Facebook post. If you want to resize it for Instagram so it doesn't bleed out to the side and maybe you lose some words or some part of the pictures that you want to keep, Canva's paid version does that for you under resize.
Yes.
It's really one simple drop down, boof, there it is. And now you've got your social asset can appear on both platforms.
That's very true. It makes it, sorry, I was looking for my own cover. Here it is. Sorry, my friends are texting me. But you're right. Like if you hit the resize here, you'll be able to custom resize it there or select the resize that you need it for. But let's say if I did it for Instagram, I'm just going to open in a new window. I just have to remember to fix this or it's going to look horrible on Instagram. But I like that it's nice that it opens it up in a new window so you're not, damaging your original edit for, I cannot see, you guys are in the way.
Let me move us.
But anyway, it's like, this is what I was saying for my own, this is actually what I have on my own Facebook cover photo right now. And I feel like as long as it's simple and the information that you need is there, it's pretty painless you don't need to do a lot of crazy things to put it together.
Right.
But I know one thing I want to do in the very not so distant future is, I'm a Disney and Hawaii travel specialist. So I want to have some like video actually on my Facebook cover photo.
Yeah.
So what I would like to do is import. So it's easy. They just added this section, like I said, with videos.
Yep.
So if I wanted to like just drag it onto my picture, then this would, there it goes. It'll play. And it's like kind of a unique, right? It's kind of a unique Facebook photo or cover photo. The only thing I don't like is that it takes away that little purple bar I had there. So I'd have to like finagle it a little bit to figure out how I want it to look. But I really like that they incorporated that. And sorry about that. I don't know if they have that on the free version.
Again, I haven't.
know.
So just to let you know, Crystal Eicher says, no, you are not restricted on colors with the free version.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, but it's just keeping the colors in.
Right.
You just have to remember what your hex codes are, and that's
right.
the easy workaround with that. So you should have them, hopefully, if your graphic designer was awesome and gave them to you. Or you can use a dropper tool to find them. But I do want to experiment. Sorry, I'm going to go back.
Mona, did our designer give us the codes?
Yeah, they're in one of those PDFs.
Okay, thanks.
It should be in there. He usually gives us that.
I've not looked, and I've got to go.
But I use the little eyedropper thing all the time.
Yeah, which it makes it easier, but it is easier just to have them loaded so you don't have to keep kind of getting them.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
love that picture.
Oh, thank you. Which, if you ask Crystal, you should definitely go spend a little bit of money on a photographer. Even
Well,
now, you know, and go get some.
I need to get a haircut first.
I know that's so hard with all this stuff going on. What
I'm waiting for Timmy and Angel to open up again.
are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
First thing I'm gonna do is go get it buzzed.
Make your life easier. But what I really like is that they just have everything. So like if you wanted to do like even stories, really, if you wanted to do an Instagram
Yeah.
post, so here's my deal. I just like photos on Instagram, but you can absolutely have stuff in there if you want. And if you were trying to run an ad, like that would work just fine to have something short and sweet like this.
Right.
And you can do something similar in the Facebook stories if you're trying to run ads through stories. But it just like keep it as clear and as short as possible. Like, I don't know, we'll just say like it's a Mother's Day sale, and just keep it like that. Like basically that, have your contact, like your website there, and then have who you are, and I'll leave the rest in captions so that really what's happening is you're trying to draw people's attention in instead of like jamming it full.
And make sure your profile URL is where you want them to go to so that they don't
Right.
have to wander. Yep.
Exactly. And I always say like link in bio to get them, you know, in my Instagram caption, I always direct them to my link in my bio so that I'm not jamming the caption full of stuff. Because I think I don't know anybody that fills it up with the 2,000 characters, but I know that you have like 2,000 characters on Instagram. So this will work if you are in your news feed and you're paying for an ad, and this image right here will come up and hopefully stop somebody in their tracks. But like I said, keep it like as minimal as possible because you know we only have such a short amount of time to get people to look at our images.
Yep.
So I would stop for this one because I love purple. So I'm like, oh, why is this image purple? Like it's nice to look at. But again, it's super easy to edit. Like I said, I would just ungroup this because I hate it being grouped together. And then you just tap away and then you're able to move all of this around any way that you want. And then if you actually want this image to shine through this color blocking, you can tap this transparency right here and you'll be able to change like how transparent. And I know that's in the free version as well.
I'm a transparency guy. I don't like those harsh colors unless it's, you know, it's clear that I needed to. There was no way the words would pop if I
Right.
didn't, but I like to use transparency.
It makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna close these. Something that I'm doing like when I go when I'm going to start marketing a little bit more heavily is I really want to work in Instagram stories ads. And so I would probably start with a blank ad for me personally and throw in an image that speaks to my ideal client. So I like to book people to Disney. So I would want to find, that's not the best image, but it'll work. It's me and my oldest son. Nope, it's not gonna work.
I'll tell you the one thing I don't like about Canva is not being able to resize pictures, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't like about it.
So it's like, so if let me delete that one. If I throw this here, it stays that size, even with the free or you know, I have the paid version. The only thing I can do is make it larger, which I don't want to do, but I don't know why Canva.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Canva I don't like.
It kind of drives me crazy, but I don't want this guy to be here, the musician right there. So I could, you know, drag it up to make him out of the shot, but I wish that I could like
just crop him.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
And I've tried to go into like Paint and redo it, and for some reason it like fixes the size and you can't change it.
It's true. I don't know.
So I have not been able to figure that out yet.
Kind of frustrating. I totally agree with that. Um, maybe that's something they'll change in the future, because I think people were talking about video and that's where it suddenly popped up with
Yeah.
like what is this video happening here? But that's something you can do too. Like if you were to make in stories as well, if you were to make a video for your ad, you could just throw it on here and
Yeah.
then download it as an MP4 or yeah, and upload it to Instagram, whatever
Yep.
scheduling platform you have. But what I like about, I think people really try to complicate ads sometimes, imagery with ads. Like I think you should just leave it as is. And then what'll happen is there'll be text that comes on top of your image anyway in Instagram
Right. And your
stories.
caption, yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll just tap to read more and it'll come up and they'll look at it. But like, I would hope that this image would be like, well, what is this mom doing with her two little boys at Disneyland? And they would want to stop and look at, what is happening. And there's a story to be told with
Oh, yes.
this. Yes. Yeah. Because, we are a Disney family.
What amazes me is how many of those actors look like Johnny Depp. They just,
Oh,
how do they find all these people that look exactly like him?
I don't know. It's so surprising. But I don't know. I guess they go through a rigorous process, I think, to find
Find
the
these
exact
people.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say besides video? I think
I
that's
mean,
it.
yeah, the only other things are like as you can see at the top of the screen in the white bar, there's filter adjust, and they do allow you to do some fun things. So there's flip. So if you had an image that didn't work, and I'll actually show you this on a quick template that I'm going to work in a couple of seconds. But flip allows you to flip it over and have it be exactly the same photograph, but maybe you needed that bottom left-hand corner for your logo.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
love to have your logo in the bottom. So it also gives you those. But then like adjust and filter allow you to do some fun stuff with images.
Yep. They can. It's my image is already edited, but you would be able to adjust your image there. And then if you don't like how, I don't like that. But if I were to do the epic one, I can adjust the intensity of the filter or make it, not so crazy. And then this one has micro adjustments. So if you're familiar with like Lightroom or Photoshop or anything like that, this allows you to adjust the photo as well to make it like more contrast, make it brighter
So
or
for
darker.
$9.99, you get, you do get quite a bit.
You really do. It's a lot. And then on top of that, something else that I use all the time is for my marketing materials. If I wanted to publish this, they have the where is it? Scroll down. There's like, oh yeah, I can print it through Canva. And I've used their prints and it's not that expensive. I think it's like $1 and some change, like starting for basic prints. But then I could use this as like marketing material for a vendor's event or, a conference or something like that. And the turnaround time is usually like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fast. I don't know about now, but before all this stuff happened, I've used them and they've been really great. And the nice thing too is that they don't allow you to print outside of the binding box. So if you accidentally have Jack Sparrow's head on the edge of the binding box, they'll be like, hey, double check your work before you send it to us. Makes it so much easier. But it's just really, I think it's a really great way to be able to build marketing. And if you have questions, there's like a bazillion places to look, and I'm always happy to answer questions if you have questions about Canva. But I think it's really easy. Like really, once you start using it, it's really pretty user friendly.
And that's, Dina is so right. Once you get in there and you start using it, you're all of a sudden you're going to start finding yourself being more efficient. You're gonna be a little more ambitious about maybe saturation in a graphic image that they gave you or something, and you really can start to have some fun. I'm going to tell you right now, Dina is more of a designer than I am. I am not a designer. In fact, I think I'm slightly colorblind. There are certain blues that look purplish to me. And so when you see my designs, you got to give me grace.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dina.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, please, you're so talented.
Oh,
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I learned
just,
some little tricks from you. That's really good.
oh,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
quickly go back into the presentation so we can kind of get through the rest of this. And let me see, where do we have? Okay, there we go. That's why. So just real quick, we're going to talk a little bit more about storytelling from a business perspective. So that we left in the slides so that you can take a look at what the dashboards look like when it shows you the different prices. And just to let you know, Dina, Jenny Chaffer said she's been using Easel because she thinks it has more options, and she said it's cheaper than Canva. So
Oh, that's
I,
something to look into.
yeah, I have not checked out Easel, so I'm going to go check it out now.
Yeah.
So just remember, everybody, we always talk about Jane. Jane is our avatar for a typical travel advisor who we're following along the course of this this pandemic lesson. And if you remember, her business is, in good years, 750,000. She's got some experience. She's got mostly premium travel styles. And now all of a sudden she's got to pivot. And what we've been trying to get all of you to think about is that your CRM is the first place you need to go. Do we want you to acquire new clients? Absolutely. There may be people out there you've never bumped into that an ad, a well-placed ad in Instagram, might bring in a couple of new people that you've never met before. But the best place for you to go during a time where trust is at a premium, because we've lost a lot of trust in the travel industry. People who got stuck on cruise ships feel like they were betrayed. People who've been struggling to get refunds from tour operators feel a little bit of trust issues. So we want to work with your trust first. If you've built trust with your brand and your experience, that's why we want you to look at your CRM, look who's purchased from you in the last year or two, and we want you to think about how you're getting them back into the sales funnel, especially if you know that they're sort of like an early adopter. They're people who aren't worried about getting back to travel again when it's free. So let's say you're trying to tell the story of a luxury wine aficionado who is willing to fly to Sonoma, California. They're okay with that. If you can get them on a flight, they're going to go into Sacramento or San Francisco or Oakland, and they're going to drive up because they want a nice weekend up there in the fall when things are calmer. They're looking for deluxe accommodations, something like my buddy Joe's Farmhouse Inn, maybe some wine tours. You know what? If there's, if it's okay to dine indoors, they're okay with that. If you can find them a beautiful vineyard that it's not going to be cold yet and they can eat outside on a patio, even better. What would you do in Canva to make that come alive? So what I've done is now I need to go over to my Canva account. And where did I bury it? You know what? I'm just going to go to my screen. Share my screen. And now let me get out of the PowerPoint presentation. You know what? I'm actually going to have to. Let's go there first. Let me put my Canva up and then I can share my screen. There we go. So let's say, how would we create this story for this wine client? And share screen. So now I'm in my design, and as you can see, I've built a template. So now I would pull up the template, and I've already pulled some pictures. So I would go into my uploads where I've got some pictures, and these are some pictures I grabbed from Joe's website. And again, I'm trying to articulate to somebody who's looking for a wine experience. What would that be like? Well, maybe, they love meeting people and they're not so afraid to meet strangers. They like great food. As you can see, I'm taking these pictures and just dropping them in, and it's framing them. And you know what? I want to go get a photo. I want to get a wine photo. And as you can see, I was searching earlier today for a great wine photo. And now what am I trying to say in this picture? I'm trying to say I'm looking for people who are looking for a certain type of experience. They're tired of being stuck indoors. They're not afraid of meeting strangers. They're not afraid of catching COVID from somebody else. They're looking for a dining experience. And my caption on this could be something about how I have special deals through Virtuoso with the Farmhouse Inn, depending upon when you want to go and what kind of room you're looking for. And now I'm conveying a story through an image. And Canva allows you to just plop that all together so quickly through templates. So let's go to somebody slightly different now. So now we're going to go to someone who, you know what? They like river cruising. They realize that they can't go to Europe. So I built a template for river cruising. And I'll go back into the PowerPoint later on. But this particular person is okay with, again, they're looking at the fall. They're from the South. They've always heard about the colors in the Northeast. And they're looking for some kind of experience that allows them to have a certain level of luxury, but the ability to jump off the boat if something's going down. If something's crazy, they want to be close to, being able to jump off, get in, a taxi or something and get back to where they've got to get to. So what I did in this case is I went to American Cruises and I pulled an assortment of pictures off of their website. Now, this is my part of the country. So that's the Bear Mountain State Bridge. So that's actually Anthony's Nose. And West Point is actually right beyond this little rise in the mountains there. So American River Cruises does these cruises where you can disappear up the Hudson River. And I said, okay, well, what if we pulled, some different colors together? And you know what? They're looking for activities. Hold on a second. And they're looking, we're trying to convey an image of life is renewing again. And there's a time of year when we will be able to travel again and I can be active. I can see beauty, both in the flavors that I taste on the plate at night at dinner, the scenes that are passing by me. And very quickly, I can pull together something that says to people, I can fill your world with color again. I know how to do that through my curating trips with different suppliers. And you can do this so easily in Canva. These images were pulled from the American Cruises website. I would get their permission in advance. I would just let them know, hey guys, I want to start selling some of your cruises. I'm really interested in seeing if I can attract people to the Hudson River cruises that you're starting to do. And as long as I've got permission, I would try to put some things together. And you know what? Maybe somebody is not as much a bike rider. But you know what? Up here in New York, we have quite a few mansions, kind of like the way Rhode Island does. Okay, so now I'm adding a little bit more luxury, the Vanderbilt mansion that's here on the Hudson River. And you can, put different photos in so easily and try different images that tell a slightly different story. And your caption can be, contact me above, or contact me in my profile for a consultation. And you could change your profile to maybe lead them to the consultation page temporarily. So there's so many ways that Canva can literally take your idea about who your ideal client is and push some images out and then watch how they work. Direct people back to your website and see whether or not that's generating any foot traffic. And if it doesn't, try some other images. But it all starts with your cash flow statement, who you think your ideal client is, how much money do you want to try to put in your bank account before the end of this year, look at your suppliers and what those commission rates look like. And depending upon travel restrictions, there's probably different ways that you could start to coax money back into that bank account through the end of the year. So please, these tools are so much fun to play with. And they're relatively cheap. Jenny says that Easel is even cheaper than Canva. This is your chance between now and the fall, when travel hopefully actually will start to be viable again. This is your chance to play, test, measure, improve, test, measure. That's what this time is about. So we hope that Dina and I have been able to present some kind of excitement to you that you can use imagery at a very low cost through some great tools and get your marketing going again. Stay visible during this time. As those slides at the very beginning show you, people are starting to do more than just dream about travel. They're inquiring. So with that, I am going to just show you one last time my screen so you can see the slides, because that is where we do have. There's Dina's email address if you want to get in touch with her. I will convert this into a PDF, load it up inside the group. So if you want to, her email will be clickable in the PDF. Myrna and I are here for you as well. Guys, we want you to get through this. We know that you can, but staying positive is partially based on doing fun things like that and getting feedback. I am enjoying the fact that some of you are commenting right now. It's making me feel better that people are engaged and thinking. I mean, Jenny chiming in and saying, hey guys, I may even have another tool you might want to consider. This is how we're going to survive, by continuing this dialogue, helping each other the best we can, lifting each other up the best we can. And I just want to thank Dina one last time before she goes. She is a busy mom. She's a military spouse. She's got her own business. She does work with Crystal and Ashley to help the greater business. She's a busy woman, but she took time out for you guys today. And that is such a grace. And I thank you so much, Dina, for the time you took
I
today.
appreciate you inviting me today. I really.
Oh, no, you did
No,
us a
thank you so
favor.
much. It was great tips. Great
Thank
tips.
you.
So
And
stay positive, everybody. We're gonna have a Friday inspiration call at 4 o'clock. Bring your bottle of wine, get this week going, start playing around, and maybe you can even bring some of your designs by Friday. We can all take a look at them and cheer you on. So please stay in touch, keep lifting each other up, and we will be in touch with you again very soon. Thanks, Dina.
Bye.
thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.